The throne room of the Varelian hive was older than most stars. Its walls were alive, breathing slowly, glowing with soft blue light like a giant heart. The air smelled of metal, warmth, and something ancient. Every sound echoed, even a single breath. Ethan stood alone at the center. He felt very small. He was a human engineer, thin, tired, wearing a damaged exploration suit. His boots were dirty with alien dust. His hands still trembled from what he had done only hours before. Around him, thousands of Varelians watched in silence. They were tall, powerful beings with crystal-like armor grown from their own bodies. Their eyes were dark and sharp. To them, Ethan was nothing more than a fragile creature from a weak world. A human was not supposed to be here. At the far end of the hall, the alien queen sat on her living throne. She was larger than all others, crowned with glowing spines and wrapped in royal energy. For centuries, her face had never shown emotion, until now. She stood. The movement alone made the room tremble. Ethan swallowed hard. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. He remembered why he was here. The seed core, the dying world. The reactor no Varelian could touch. He had stepped forward because no one else could. Humans survived radiation better. Pain better. Death better. That was what the galaxy used them for. The queen's eyes locked onto him. Then she spoke. "You fertilized me as a human," she said. The words cut through the chamber like a blade. Ethan felt his breath leave his body. What? He whispered. Gasps rippled through the hive. Warriors shifted. Elders hissed in shock. That single sentence was impossible, unthinkable, dangerous. The queen stepped down from her throne. Each step was slow, heavy, final. "You were never meant to," she continued, her voice deep but shaking. "Your species was classified as incompatible. Observers only, tools." She stopped only a few steps away from Ethan. "But when you placed your hand into the seed core," she said, "your biology reacted." Images appeared in the air, memories pulled from the hive itself. Ethan saw himself standing before the glowing core, alarms screaming, alien engineers backing away in fear. He remembered the pain. Fire in his veins. Bones screaming. He remembered refusing to pull his hand away. "I just wanted to save the planet," Ethan said softly. "And you did," the queen replied. "But you also changed me." Her claw rested on her chest. "The seed core is life itself. My people evolved to control it, to limit it. You did not." Her eyes darkened with emotion. "Your cells carried chaos, adaptation, persistence." She lowered her voice. "You awakened something ancient inside me." Silence fell again. Ethan felt dizzy. "You're saying I hurt you?" "No," she said quickly. "You healed my people." Then her voice broke. "And now I carry an heir." The room exploded into noise, shouts, cries, rage. The High Council rose as one, their voices overlapping. "Heresy! Contamination! Kill the human!" Ethan stepped back in fear. His legs felt weak. He looked around, searching for an escape that did not exist. He was going to die here. He accepted that. But the queen moved faster. Her massive claws wrapped around him, not crushing, not painful but unbreakable. She pulled him close to her body, shielding him with her own form. The room went silent again. "You will not touch him," she said. Her voice was no longer shaking. It was absolute. "He is under my protection." Ethan felt her warmth, felt the slow, powerful rhythm of her body. He realized something terrifying. She was afraid, not of him, of losing him. "I did not ask for this," Ethan said, his voice barely audible. "Neither did I," the queen replied. "But the galaxy does not care what we ask for." She looked down at him, her eyes filled with conflict, fear, and something softer. "You are bound to me now," she said quietly. Not by desire, not by choice, but by life itself. Ethan's chest tightened. I want to go home, he whispered, for a moment. The queen said nothing. Then her claws tightened just a little. I cannot, she said, and in that moment, Ethan understood. The galaxy had just changed, and he was never going to be free again. Ethan sat on a bench that pulsed like it was alive, deep in the queen's private chamber. The walls glimmered with a soft organic light that shifted slowly, like breathing. The air smelled faintly of ozone and warmth, something that made his chest tighten. Around him, nothing moved except for the queen. Standing in front of him, watching him with eyes that seemed to pierce through his very soul. You did not mate with me, she said quietly, her voice heavy with a strange mixture of awe and fear. Your kind does not bond the way mine does. You were never meant to touch the seed core. Ethan looked down at his hands. They were still trembling. He remembered every detail of that moment, the heat, the pain, the strange tingling that ran through his body when his hand connected with the glowing core. Then, how? He whispered. How did this happen? The queen's gaze softened. She stepped closer, the floor beneath her glowing with her presence. The seed core reacts to life, she explained. Virelians evolved to protect themselves from it. Their bodies are shielded. But your cells, they were different, adaptable, resilient, unbroken. You survived where others would have died. And in doing so, you triggered something. Impossible. Ethan's chest tightened. He had never imagined that his simple act, touching a glowing alien artifact to save a failing reactor, could have consequences like this. He was just a human, a small fragile being among beings who had lived for thousands of years. He was not supposed to matter. You started something that should have been forbidden, the queen continued. Her massive claws hovered near him but did not touch. You changed the fate of my entire species. He shook his head. I just wanted to save the planet. I wasn't thinking about you. Or your species. You cannot understand, she said softly. You are human. You think linearly. You think survival is just one step. But the seed core, it is life itself. It is not linear. It is infinite. And it responded to you in ways no Virelian ever could. You awakened a bond that was thought impossible. Ethan tried to stand but felt the weight of her presence, like a physical force pressing him down. The room seemed smaller, yet infinite at the same time. He wanted to speak, to argue, to deny it, but words failed him. How could he explain that he was just a man trying to survive? That he had no plan, no knowledge, no desire to change the fate of an entire species? The queen lowered her head, and for the first time, she looked vulnerable. My people believed the royal line would end with me, she said, her voice barely audible. We thought our legacy would vanish, and yet, now there is hope. And it is because of you. Ethan swallowed hard. His throat felt dry. I don't even know what to say. You do not need to say anything, she whispered. It is not your choice to carry this burden. It is mine. The room went quiet, but the silence was heavy. Ethan felt the weight of history pressing down on him, the weight of a species' hope and fear. He realized something terrifying. He was no longer just a human lost in space. He was a part of something larger, something he could not fully understand. And yet it had chosen him. Your people would have killed me if they could, he said finally, his voice shaking. The High Council. They want to destroy me. The queen's eyes hardened. They tried, she said. They wanted to end you before this. Before the bond. But I stopped them. I refused. I defended you, even against my own council. Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected fear, maybe anger. But not protection. Not loyalty. Not love. He didn't know what to call this strange, growing connection between them. You fought for me?" He asked. "For the child," she said softly. Then, after a pause, she added, "And for you." Her words hit him like a lightning bolt. The queen of an ancient species, the ruler of a galaxy-spanning empire, had risked everything for him. He, a fragile human, born on a small blue planet, with nothing to his name but curiosity and survival, was important to her. The thought made him dizzy. The room seemed to spin. He wanted to step back, to hide, to run, but he couldn't. Not from her, not from what had already begun. "I don't belong here," he said quietly. "You do," she replied. "Whether you understand it or not, your existence is part of the hive now. You cannot leave. Not without consequences." Ethan closed his eyes and let out a long, shaky breath. He realized he was no longer just a visitor. He was part of a story he didn't choose, a story bigger than himself. The queen's presence pressed around him, protective, unyielding, impossible to escape. And for the first time, Ethan felt something he had never imagined, that being human might be enough to change the fate of a galaxy. He looked up at her. Fear, awe, and an unfamiliar warmth filled him. Then, "I don't have a choice," he whispered. The queen tilted her head slightly. "No," she said. "You never did." And in that moment, the chamber seemed to hold its breath. The universe itself pausing to witness a human who had touched life, and life that would never let him go. The news spread faster than fire across dry grass. A human had done the impossible. A fragile, untrained human had touched the seed core of the Verelian hive and changed the course of an ancient species. The galaxy did not cheer. It panicked. It feared. Ethan did not notice at first. He stayed in the queen's private sanctum, sitting on the soft, pulsing bench, watching her move among glowing consoles that reacted to her presence. Her massive claws skimmed over the surfaces, and each touch sent a ripple through the floor. The energy around her was alive, almost like the planet itself was breathing with her. "You cannot hide here forever," Ethan said softly. His voice was barely audible over the hum of the chamber. "They will come. They always do." The queen paused and looked at him, her eyes wide and heavy with emotion. "They are already here," she said. "The fleets are gathering. Coalitions are forming. They want you destroyed. They fear what you represent." Ethan felt a cold knot in his stomach. He had survived radiation, alien planets, collapsing structures, but this was beyond him. A galaxy that had never noticed humans was now pointing its collective fear and hatred at him. He wanted to run, to disappear into the void of space, but he could not leave. The queen would not allow it. "They sent assassins before," he whispered. They would have killed me if they could." "They tried," the queen said, her massive shoulders stiffening. "And I stopped them. I broke their authority. I shattered their plans. Every fleet that moved against you, I turned aside." Ethan swallowed hard. He looked at her, and for the first time, he saw fear, not the cold kind that came from danger, but the deep, human-like fear of losing someone you cannot replace. "You risked everything. For me?" he asked. "For the child," she corrected, her voice soft but unwavering. "And for you." The words hit him like a weight pressing against his chest. He was a human, small and fragile, yet here he was, defended by the most powerful being in a galaxy-spanning empire. He wanted to deny it, wanted to say he didn't matter. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Ethan was no longer just a visitor. He was a part of something impossible, something alive, something that could not be undone. Outside the sanctum, the hive stirred with unease. Alerts echoed through the chambers, warnings of approaching fleets, unauthorized signals, and whispers of rebellion. The High Council had declared him a contaminant, a threat to all Verelian life. They demanded blood. His blood. The blood of the species that carried change, The queen's voice cut through his thoughts. You are not a tool. You are not a weapon. You are part of the bond. That is why I cannot let them have you. Ethan looked at her, confusion and awe battling within him. I don't even understand, he admitted. I never wanted this, I just survived. And yet, she said, stepping closer, her presence like a wall of heat and power. Survival is what made you the most dangerous human in the galaxy. You survived where no one else could. You lived when everyone thought you would die. You carried life in a way my species cannot. That is why you exist here in this moment, with me. Ethan's hands trembled. He looked around, noticing the alien architecture, the living walls, the glowing pathways that seemed to pulse with the queen's heartbeat. He felt small, insignificant, but also alive in a way he had never felt before. They will not stop, he said quietly. They will send more. They will kill us. The queen placed her massive claw over his shoulder, a gesture both protective and intimate. They may try, she said softly, but they will never succeed. As long as I breathe, you will be safe. And the child will be safe. You are part of something greater now. Something the galaxy cannot destroy. Ethan's chest tightened. The enormity of it pressed down on him. He had gone from a human engineer and observer, a survivor, to the center of a storm that spanned stars, fleets, and entire civilizations. And yet, he felt a strange warmth in the weight of responsibility. He realized with a trembling certainty that he was not alone. Not anymore. The queen's presence was constant, unyielding. Her eyes softened as she said, almost to herself, You may be human, fragile and untested, but you carry a spark no Varelian could ever possess. Ethan looked at her, understanding finally what she meant. He was small. He was weak. But he had done what no one else could. And that had changed everything. Outside, the galaxy raged. Threats gathered, fleets moved, conspiracies whispered. But inside the sanctum, two unlikely beings, one human, one alien queen, stood together, bound by fate, by life, and by the impossible truth that humans, fragile as they seemed, could alter the course of worlds. And for the first time, Ethan felt a sense of purpose deeper than survival. He was no longer just surviving. He was living. And he would fight, not for glory, not for recognition, but for something far greater, life itself, and the fragile bond that would never let him go. Days passed, but the tension never left the hive. Ethan remained in the queen's private sanctum, though now he moved more freely. He still felt out of place, a fragile human in a palace alive with pulsing energy, walls that whispered, and floors that shifted under his weight. But something had changed. Something subtle. The air itself seemed warmer when he was near the queen. The glow of the living chambers brightened when he walked. It was as if the planet recognized him, recognized what he had done. The queen watched him closely, always aware of his presence. At first, her gaze had been sharp, calculating, like a predator studying a prey it could not eat. But over time, her eyes softened. She began to move around him more gently, her massive claws careful not to brush him too roughly. Sometimes when she thought he wasn't looking, she would study him like he was fragile glass. You are changing the hive, Ethan said one evening as he watched her manipulate the living consoles, their surfaces flowing like water beneath her claws. I don't even know how. The queen paused and looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of wonder and exhaustion. No one understands it yet, she admitted. Even I do not fully know. The child within me. It is not just life. It is change, renewal. You awakened it. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had been terrified at first, wondering if the child would harm the queen. He remembered the strange warmth in her body, the glow in her chest, and the way the hive itself seemed to hum in response to him. Now he realized that the child was not just inside her, it was part of everything. The hive responded, the crops grew faster, the ancient machines stirred. Even the planet itself seemed to breathe differently. It's alive in a new way, Ethan said softly, almost to himself. And it responds to me? The queen smiled faintly, a rare, almost human expression. Yes, your presence affects the child. It is a bond unlike any Varelian has ever known. Your kind carries chaos in a way that is unpredictable, yes, but beautiful. You have given my people something they never believed could exist again. Ethan looked at her and felt a surge of emotion he could not name. Pride? Fear? Awe? Perhaps all three. He had survived countless dangers, but this was more than survival. This was responsibility, and it weighed on him like the gravity of a planet. I didn't ask for any of this, he said quietly. I never wanted to be part of changing your species, your planet. And yet you are, the queen replied softly. You are here. You are human. And human resilience is the one force my people cannot contain. That is why the child exists. That is why you exist here. Ethan swallowed. He had survived radiation, collapsing planets, and deadly environments. He had faced alien creatures, traps, and dangers he could never have imagined. But now he realized that nothing had prepared him for this, the responsibility of carrying life forward, of being a part of something far greater than himself. One evening, the queen guided him to a balcony overlooking the hive. The sky was filled with countless stars, alien moons, and distant planets. The wind, alive with the pulse of the hive, brushed against his face. You can still leave, Ethan said quietly. No one would stop you. They would be glad to have me gone. The queen turned to him, her eyes serious, glowing softly in the twilight. No, you cannot leave. Not while the child grows. You are bound to this, to me, to life itself. The galaxy fears what it does not understand, and you are that fear, and that hope. Ethan looked at the stars and felt a strange mix of fear and determination. He was human, small, fragile, but humans had always survived. He had survived when everything told him he would die. And now, in a way he never imagined, he was part of something eternal. The child was not born yet, but it was already changing the world. The hive's energy pulsed in harmony with the queen and with him. Ancient structures activated. Crops flourished. Systems thought dead for centuries hummed with life. Even the council, who had once demanded his death, now whispered uneasily about the changes they could not control. The queen looked at him, her massive form leaning slightly toward him. Do you understand now? She asked softly. Ethan nodded slowly. I think I do. The child. It is more than just life. It is hope, and I am part of that. Her gaze softened, and for the first time, Ethan felt something he could not describe. A connection deeper than fear, deeper than survival. The queen was no longer just a ruler. She was a protector, and he was not just a human. He was part of a new story, a story that would change the galaxy. And in that quiet moment, standing together above the glowing hive, Ethan realized the truth. The child had already changed everything. And so had he. The High Council had spoken. Peace was possible. But it came with a price Ethan could never imagine. He sat across from the queen in the council chamber, a space larger than any human city he had ever seen. The walls pulsed with energy, alive as if they could hear every word. Members of the council, tall and crystalline, stared at him with cold precision. Their voices were soft, but every word carried the weight of entire fleets. The human must leave, one council member said. The child may live. The hive may survive. But the human cannot stay. He is contamination. He is unpredictable. He is danger. Ethan's chest tightened. He had survived radiation, alien worlds, collapsing structures, and enemies he could not even imagine. But now he faced a choice he had never wanted. Leave and let the Queen and the child face the galaxy alone, or stay and risk the wrath of an entire empire. The Queen placed a massive claw over his hand. Her touch was warm, alive, and steady. "Do not doubt yourself," she said softly. "You are part of this bond. You are part of this child. They cannot separate you. Not truly." Ethan shook his head, tears threatening to fall. "I can't stay here. I am human. I belong to no one. I can survive on my own, but I cannot destroy your people or your child because of me." The Queen's eyes softened, but they held a steel he had never seen before. "You are not destroying us. You are giving life. You are giving hope. That is why I cannot let you leave." Ethan looked down. Every instinct in his body screamed that leaving was safer. He could hide on a human colony or even disappear into deep space. No fleet would find him there. He could survive, but then he thought of the child. Not yet born, yet already alive in ways he could feel. Not yet spoken, yet already changing the world. The child had the Queen's strength and something of him, something fragile, human, unpredictable. Leaving would be abandoning everything that had begun here, everything that had survived against impossible odds. I can't just walk away," he admitted, his voice trembling. "I can't, not after what we've started. Not after what we've survived. If I leave, I lose more than I can bear." The Queen's massive form shifted closer. Her breath, warm and alive, brushed against his face. "Then stay," she whispered. "Not because you must. Not because the galaxy demands it. Stay because this is where you belong. Stay because the bond is stronger than fear. Stronger than death." Ethan felt the weight of her words. It pressed on his chest, made his heart pound, made his body ache with a strange, beautiful certainty. He had always survived. He had always adapted. But now survival was no longer enough. He had a choice to leave or to embrace something far bigger than himself. He looked into her eyes and saw not a queen, not a ruler, not a godlike being of power, but a mother, a protector, someone who had chosen him as fiercely as he had chosen to survive. "I stay," he said finally, his voice firm though soft. "I will not leave. Not for fleets, not for councils, not for fear. I will stay." The Queen's eyes glimmered. A light flickered in them, like stars reflecting in a dark ocean. "Then you have chosen life," she said softly. "And life will protect you, as it always has. We are stronger together. The child will know that. I will know that. And now, the galaxy must learn it too." Ethan took a deep breath. He could feel the hive beneath him, the planet itself humming in harmony with the Queen and with him. The pulse of life was everywhere, flowing through him, through her, through the very floors and walls. He was part of something greater than survival, greater than any human could imagine. Outside, the fleets continued to move. The galaxy still feared him, but he no longer feared it. Not entirely. He had chosen a path that no one else could walk. He had chosen to stand beside a queen, to protect a child that had not yet been born, and to become something more than human. The Queen placed her claw gently on his shoulder. "You are human," she said, "yet you carry what no Varelian can. Chaos, courage, hope. The child will be born because of you. And we will survive because of you." Ethan swallowed. He had always been small, fragile, unseen, but now he understood. Humans could survive impossible odds, yes, but humans could also change the galaxy. And when they chose to stand, they could protect what mattered more than life itself. He looked at her. The massive queen who had become his protector, his anchor, his reason for staying. And in that moment, he realized something he had never known. Survival was not enough. Love, courage, and choice, these were stronger than fear. Stronger than death, stronger than the galaxy itself, and he would never leave. The fleets arrived at the edge of Varelian space. Hundreds of ships stretching across the void like a storm waiting to strike. The galaxy had sent its best, its most powerful, its most relentless. They believed they could intimidate a single human, force the queen to bend, and destroy the child before it was born. Ethan stood beside the queen on the highest balcony of the hive, overlooking the glowing city below. The air shimmered with living energy, responding to her presence. He could feel the pulse of the planet, the heartbeat of the hive, and the quiet rhythm of the child within her. It was almost musical, almost alive, and it resonated through him like nothing he had ever felt. "They're coming," he whispered, his voice small but steady. "They think they can take me. They think they can take the child." The queen's eyes glimmered like molten crystal. "They will try," she said softly, "but no one will succeed. Not while I stand. Not while life itself stands with us." Ethan swallowed, trying to keep the fear from rising in his chest. He had survived collapsing planets, alien predators, radiation that would have killed any Varelian, but now the fear was different. It was the fear of being utterly alone in a galaxy that did not understand him. A galaxy that saw humans as fragile, replaceable, and insignificant. But then he looked at her. The queen, massive and imposing, standing tall despite the threat of fleets, her claws glowing faintly with energy, her massive body alive with the pulse of the hive. She was not afraid, not really. She had fear, yes, but she also had resolve, and it made Ethan realize something important. Fear was not enough to break them. Not while they stood together. "They will fire," he said quietly, "and they will try to force you to bend." The queen tilted her head. "Let them come. They do not understand what humans can do. They do not understand what I can do. They fear change. They fear life that cannot be contained. And that is why they will fail." Ethan's heart pounded. He had always thought humans were weak, fragile, slow. But here, standing beside the queen, he realized that human courage, human adaptability, and human unpredictability were forces the galaxy had never faced. He was small, yes. Fragile, yes. But he was dangerous in a way the galaxy could not calculate. A fleet moved closer. A line of ships so massive it blotted out distant stars. Weapons glowed, ready to fire. Messages from commanders rang through the hive, demanding surrender, demanding the human, demanding the queen's obedience. But the queen did not flinch. She extended her claws, and the living walls pulsed with power. The entire planet seemed to awaken. Energy flowed from its core, lighting the streets, powering machines thought dead for centuries, activating defenses the High Council had long kept dormant. The hive itself responded to her command, a living shield around them, humming with anticipation. Ethan reached for her claw. The touch sent warmth through him, steadying his nerves. He started, but she shook her head. "Do not speak of fear," she said softly, almost tenderly. "You are human, yes, but you carry something they cannot touch. You carry life, courage, and hope. That is why the galaxy fears you. That is why they will fail." The human heart, he realized, was not just fragile. It was resilient. It could endure what no other species could. And together with the queen, together with the child within her, they had become something unstoppable. The fleets hesitated, scanning, calculating, unsure. The hive glimmered like a living fortress. The queen's presence was overwhelming, a force no logic could predict. And at the center of it all, Ethan stood not just a human, not just a survivor, but a symbol of change. A spark that could ignite hope and fear at the same time. "They will learn soon," the queen said softly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "Humans do not conquer with fleets. They conquer with courage, with resilience, with the ability to endure and change. And once they become family, they are never let go. Ethan nodded, understanding for the first time what it meant to be human in the galaxy's eyes. Fragile, yes. Unpredictable, yes. But capable of altering the course of worlds. Capable of standing beside a being older and stronger than he could ever imagine, and making her weaker, stronger, and more alive all at once. The fleets paused. Messages of attack were delayed. Calculations ran endlessly. And in that moment, the galaxy began to understand what it had feared all along. A human, standing beside an immortal queen, could not be defeated. Ethan exhaled slowly. He felt the pulse of the child, the heartbeat of the hive, the warmth of the queen's claw in his hand. Fear was still there, yes, but it was different now. It was not paralyzing. It was alive. It was the fire of survival, the spark of courage, and the promise of a new future. The galaxy had learned fear. But Ethan had learned something more. He had learned hope. And hope, he realized, was more powerful than any fleet. Years had passed since the fleets had gathered at the edge of Varelian space, threatening destruction. The galaxy had watched, uncertain, as a fragile human had changed the course of an immortal species. But time had a way of revealing truth, and now, in the heart of the hive, something miraculous waited to be born. Ethan stood beside the queen in the birthing chamber, a place alive with light, energy, and warmth. The walls pulsed softly, echoing the rhythm of the queen's body, and with each pulse, he could feel the child stirring. The room hummed with